Dave Clement, a Northern Ireland player with multiple caps, came over after his career to play for the Cosmos as well, lived 2 doors down from me. We both went down to the Veterans Field, kicked the ball around, and it was quite cool.
Hello and welcome to the Love Soccer Podcast, where we talk about our love for the beautiful game from our youth all the way to adulthood. I'm Jonathan Janik, and joining me today is Tedd Ogren. Tedd is a soccer player. I play with him all the time on Sunday mornings. Tedd, I appreciate you coming on to the podcast.
Thanks, Jonathan. This is fun. I've been thinking through memory lane the last couple days since you posed the idea, and just having that prompt to do that has brought me some joy in that I've been very fortunate throughout my life to play soccer and meet a lot of people in all over the place.
Glad to have you on the podcast. So let's start from the very beginning. You've got your painter's brush. Paint the scene for us. What do you remember of your earliest memory playing soccer?
I was a little bit late coming to soccer in that I knew it existed. I think my grandfather may have played it back in the 1920s, but I really didn't play any kind of organized soccer. So maybe a summer rec, just truly as rec as you can get, where you show up and they organize teams. We had junior high schools in Ridgewood, New Jersey, where I spent most of my high school years. And so prior to that, I'd been a military brat, lived a bunch of places throughout the U.S. I was maybe fourth string fullback for the freshman team, Benjamin Franklin Junior High School. So I did that fall soccer, and I started to enjoy it, and that got me connected with other soccer players, and we would play pickup. And as we progressed into high school, we had a really good soccer program in our high school.
If you're walking that pitch, what did it look like?
It would have been the field behind the junior high school, because it was a big field, wasn't too far away. The people, I probably mostly didn't know any of them, because it was the town, summer rec program where, maybe I might have had a buddy in it that his parents signed him up for it too, but I don't recall that at all. So it's just pretty much out there, and it was dirt field. It may or may not have overlapped a baseball diamond or two, because all grass back then. But it was still pretty decent field, and that's where we ended up playing our games in ninth grade, our home games. But it was it was summer, so it was relatively hot in northern New Jersey.
You were fourth string fullback in junior high, is that correct?
Correct.
So that strikes me that the team was rather large, that there was a significant body of people playing the game.
Soccer was like a second-class sport to a certain degree, and it was a no-cut sport. It was advertised that way, so you just show up, you're going to practice, you'll probably get in some games. But it wasn't until like after that ninth grade experience, moving into high school, where I started to get connected with other soccer players.
So when you think about, you said that pickup and belonging to a group of players that were more experienced than you helped transform you on your journey. So when you think about those moments, what is it that you learned?
Well, we had the good fortune of having a great high school soccer program. And so during the summer, when the people who had gone through that program and went off to play, because we placed people at all kinds of half-decent, college soccer teams, when they came back for the summer, they wanted to keep their touch. So about 2 or 3 times in the evening, we all meet down at the Veterans Field. And so we had plenty of place to set up pickup. And the more I started to do that, the more I started, hey, this is a pretty fun. And when you have a 4-on-4, 5-on-5, you don't have to be, as we call it, the ace of the base. You don't have to be the best of the best to play. You're going to get touches on the ball, and then and that would be turning. I've always in my life sort of kind of been an organizer when it comes to stuff like. And I did a little bit of that for pickup soccer with Tim Storms and some other guys that ended up, playing high school with me. Playing with those college guys who return in the evening. And interestingly, one of your other guests mentioned playing barefoot. And that we would do that every now and then. We would just, play barefoot because, you really learn a lot about foot on the ball and balance and all when you're playing barefoot. But these guys would come back from Gettysburg College, Lynchburg, and I don't know who the top schools were back then. Were probably Clemson, San Francisco, Indiana. As I recall, going to the finals one year to watch them. So they played in college, and you just watch them play, and trial and error. They raise your level of play.
You mentioned two things that I want to explore. So the first one first, which is playing barefoot. What did that feel like? What do you think that is so interesting about playing barefoot? I mean, there's many cultures that do it based on need or based on their environment. I mean, beach soccer. Mm-hmm. So right. What are some of your takeaways about playing barefoot?
Big thing is touch on the ball, and the fact that the ball's not going to hurt your foot, and where you strike your foot on the ball is there's not shoe leather to distribute anything, and so it really and again, like I say, balance, because you don't have cleats to help you maintain your balance. So those are a couple of the things, and you can't do quite as many long driving crosses, and you can't come in, if you come in, full speed, to clear the ball to tackle, you could hurt yourself. And that's pretty self-critiquing too, and so that gets you thinking. It gets into your head.
You mentioned before that you attended a national championship or a college championship game. I mean, describe where you were.
We went to the semifinals and finals. So Indiana was more physical, and San Francisco was more nuanced touch, but Indiana was more classic American, not muscle soccer, but more physical. It was a high level, and it was fun to watch. It was just fun to go with the buddies for that camaraderie.
What do you think you learned from that experience?
Well, you see in the game, because you're in real time, you're in real life, and I think we have pretty decent seats, and you can kind of put yourself in the game to where, hey, I've been there, done that. I've played soccer. By that point, I had played. I think it was maybe 77, 78. So I graduated in 1977 from high school. So I played. I was fortunate enough to be a regular starter on the high school team my senior year, and so I had played a lot at a pretty competitive level. Northern New Jersey, largest group soccer. We did very well. We would qualify for county tournament, state tournament. Never made it to the finals, but it was competitive level. And but to then see that next level in front of you and say, hey, I could do that. Maybe I could do that, right? Because you see what's going on out there, and it's like, yeah, I could do that, and I could make that pass. I can make that run. And at the same time, I'm gonna have to up my game if I'm gonna want to play at that level.
So did it push you?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, I think so. It does. And I went to summer camp, and we had a New York Cosmos came out. Last name was Hart, I think. Big guy, size 13 feet. But it's good to get exposure to that level of player, coaching you. So that helped me in high school. And then Giant Stadium was relatively young, and the New York Cosmos played there. And of course, that was Pele in the U.S., right? So I got to watch Pele as a youth. Playing Giorgio Canaglia, and then Beckenbauer, I think, was in there, maybe Cruyff. They might have played on other teams and just been visiting. I don't recall the exact lineup, but got my Cosmos penny on the wall. But yeah, so that brought me further into the soccer culture. And so then when I was able to go off to college, I had coming from a good soccer program. Playing, with college dudes in the evening in the summer, it was, and we had a really good path for me because at Lehigh we had a freshman team, and it was kind of JV. We would play other JV teams. We'd play junior colleges, and again, it was not quite as competitive as the top, collegiate level. But I got to play every game. I got to play center halfback, which I tell you, you want to learn the game, play a lot of center halfback, and it'll polish your game off. And that set me up to be able to make varsity a subsequent year. Yeah, so it was all that exposure, that soccer culture, really does help.
You're watching the Cosmos, and look to your left, look to your right. What's the fandom like? What is that experience? What encapsulates that? That's a whole different era of world-class players trying to do something profound in the United States.
Right, and it was the vibe was fantastic. I mean, the crowds were growing in northern New Jersey, New York area. It was a lot of soccer, ethnic soccer teams, clubs were all over the place, and that was so that had a fan base. Of course, Pele. Everybody wants to see Pele play.
Yeah.
So that really drove a vibe, and I want to say at least one or two of the games it was sold out. The one or two that were sold out was quite a vibe.
I mean, being able to go to half a dozen Cosmos games is really quite special, I think.
Mm-hmm. It was like a 25-minute drive from my house. It was pretty accessible.
That's really great. Now, so you met one of the players.
He was a Jamaican guy, and he came in for like a day at this summer camp. Basically, put us through some drills, gave us a talking to, and this is soccer culture. And I had the good fortune of Dave Clement, who was a Northern Ireland player with multiple caps, came over after his career to play for the Cosmos as well, lived 2 doors down from me. Okay. And one time we both went down to the Veterans Field, and I held his ankles while he did sit-ups and kicked the ball around, and it was quite cool.
That is really wild. What do you think young Tedd was thinking, hanging out with a world-class player?
I probably did not appreciate it nearly as much as I knew this was something, right, and something special. But again, it's that soccer community, the culture, he's just a guy, right? I mean, he was thick. He was. I mean, he had, his body was all muscle, and he was probably 5'10", I want to say 200 pounds, but all muscle, and just incredible fit being. But again, it's a little bit of the demystifying. He's just a dude, right?
Just another dude.
Just another guy, right? Who loves the game.
You can't possibly say that Pele was just another dude, right?
No, I did never actually meet Pele. I just saw him play in person though. But he was he defined the beautiful game.
What did you see?
Just the touches on the ball, the control, the vision. Pele's vision, you could just tell he knew where everybody was on the field. And again, I can mix my memories up, but if Giorgio Canaglia was at the same time, Giorgio Canaglia was one of those guys that had a nose for the goal. He's a striker. Canaglia had a nose for the goal. And once you see that, you say, well, how do they have that nose for goal? Well, they're not looking at the ball all the time. They're raising their head up. They always know where the goal is. They're looking for that opportunity. They're not going to pass it up. And you get the ball. Pele maybe get the ball to Canaglia or whoever, and he just knew how to get the ball in the net. And it's that teamwork that was a joy to behold, and lessons learned. I mean, I learned even maybe 5 years ago. I was playing in the Orangemen in a over 30 rec league, Northern Virginia Coaches League. And we had a guy, Jason Voorhees, who's a fantastic soccer player, and he's actually now a brigadier general or major general in the Air Force. But I knew if I could get him the ball in the 18, we'd get a goal. And it didn't matter how deeply covered he was. He just needed to get the ball into his foot. But I learned that by thinking of him as a Canaglia.
You mentioned before that you went from fourth level fullback in JV to a starter in high school. So, what do you think changed that you obviously the pickup games, grew your skill, I'm sure. But were there influences that helped you, coaching influences, people influences, or was it just mind over matter? You were dedicating yourself to growing the practical skills. You rose in level.
I think it's all that. I think that it's the informal games, the pickup touches. I think Coach Dick Bennett, was our soccer coach. Was what a man! He was just an incredible coach, incredible individual, high integrity, but he made us work, and he was at the right time in the right place to take your American mindset athlete and turn us into very competitive soccer players. He also was a coach at one of the day camps I attended, which interesting anecdote. We one of the things we did at the day camp was, okay, we're all going to take penalty kicks, and Coach Bennett got in the goal, and I scored my goal by kind of looking over one corner, keep looking at that corner, keep glancing at that corner, then kick it in the other corner, right? And so I think, and then a year later, here we are in the county tournament. We're in penalty shots. I'm not a goal scorer. I scored maybe 6 goals my senior year, which is another thing. I went from fullback. I played fullback on JV, and then come my senior year, it's like, okay, Ted, you're gonna play striker. What? And I think it's because coach had seen, he was a great observer. He had seen me score in like practice, in scrimmage situations, and so he wanted to give it a try. Plus, he was a firm believer in that if you're a forward, you're still a defender. You lose the ball, your job is to defend, not throw your hands up in the air, toss your head back, and say, oh well, I'll swear and everybody will know I feel bad about it because I swore. No, your job is to get the ball back, because in that 10 seconds is the best time for your team to reclaim the ball defensively. So, and every now and then when he thought I was getting soft, plus, I was playing fullback, you got to be somewhat toughened up. Every now and then when he thought I was getting a little bit soft up front, he'd bring me back and have me play fullback to toughen me up again. But that kind of him seeing me, knowing what it took for me to get to that next level, Coach Dick Bennett was masterful.
You said you scored 6 goals. Walk us through one of those goals.
We had it was a set play from field play, right? So we would generally get the ball. If you were in this position, this is what you're supposed to do. If you're a halfback and you're crossing midfield, your job is to launch the ball towards the corner flag. The center forward is going to go run on that, get there first, and then he's going to dribble at the near post. Meanwhile, the other halfback and you who launched it to the corner are going to kind of do a curved arc up to the 18 and start coming in, right? And so just about the time you're coming in from the opposite side, because you're pulling your defender or losing him by crossing over, and the guy that you kicked at the corner, he's losing his defender or pulling him out. And then, and usually the person who's that center forward, I was more on the wing, was a dribbler and could maybe maneuver around the fullback. So now the fullback he's gonna block the goal, right? The goalie's gonna block the goal because he's coming in that near post. So there's 2 of us now standing like almost just outside the 6 with nothing in front of us but net. And so he just lays it across and poof, it was almost too easy. And it's like, did I really earn that goal? And that was one. But I did have one where, coming in with another guy, we're approaching the 18, and he just puts it over to me, and I don't know what possessed me, but I just took the inside of my left foot from outside the 18 and put it on frame, and the ball sails in the far upper 90. And those are 2 memorable goals.
What do you feel when you relive those moments?
It's fun. It's satisfaction. I'm not a big goal celebrator because I firmly believe it's a team effort, and teams celebrate the goal. And And it proved to me that when I was standing outside the six, twiddling my thumbs, waiting for him to lay it across, I'm not really, I'm not, this isn't about Ted. I'm just doing what I'm supposed to do as part of the team. And, the goal, yeah, I put it in, but the guy who went to the corner, who dribbled around a fullback.
There are plenty of players, though, that would maybe trap the ball, take 3 seconds to try and line up their shot, and in that time there's recovery, right? You have a role. There's plenty of players that just flub it and they'll put it wide, or worse, they're excited and they smash it, but they're leaning backwards and they put it over the net.
That would be Brian Tinian of the New York Cosmos. His claim to fame was, I don't think I ever saw him get the ball in front, right almost on the six, and not put it over the top. And he's a pro. But I think for us and for me, I just nudge it into the goal. I mean, it's you learn a little bit of poise, and it's not a high stress situation because it's so open and so easy. Yeah.
You did something that I did not do, or at least I did not do as successfully as you did, and that is play college soccer. So talk me through what that is like as either a redshirt or as a freshman trying out for a team where you recruited.
No, I did talk to the coach because I came from a good soccer high school. I wasn't like all county or anything like that, and so they, the coach Fleck was a pretty good coach, good, well known, had a good program, and he probably saw me coming in, and somehow I ended up playing center halfback for a whole freshman season, which really prepared me for subsequent playing varsity. Because I was getting a lot of that play. And so, no, I was not recruited per se. We had a couple of recruits. We were Division II when I was a freshman. We would lose to decent Division III teams. My sophomore year, we actually had a really good team. I didn't play a whole lot my sophomore year on varsity, but I did have one. My first varsity start, I think, is an interesting story. It tells you a little bit about Ted. I was just a bench warmer, and we're going. And at this point, I had transitioned to stopper. I was a backup stopper because again, we had a lot more talented people playing in the midfield, and so I'm in the back of the bus, and we're going to West Point to play West Point, and there was 4 colleges I applied to: Dartmouth, Princeton, Lehigh, and West Point. Dartmouth and Princeton, they weren't interested in me. And I got accepted at West Point. I had an appointment and all that. And my dad had been an Army officer and had gone to West Point, and I was raised to go to West Point. So I ended up deciding, do I really want to go to West Point, or is it just because my dad wants me to? I had one of those existential, teenage crises, and I said, Dad, I don't think I should go to West Point. And he said, okay, you got to call him up and tell him you're not coming. Okay. So anyway, so then fast forward, I'm on the bus, we're going up to West Point. I get the call from the coach, Coach Manny Tavermino was our assistant coach, called me forward, and I'm talking to him. At this point, Coach Fleck had gone on to do something else with, I forget what he moved on to. But Eddie Jockman, the assistant coach, Manny Tavermino became the head coach, called me up to the front of the bus and said, hey, Ted, Shookie's ankle's still bad. Now, Shookie with Paul Shook was just a phenomenal stopper, was just what an athlete, what a gentleman, what a skilled player. And I was his understudy, right? So I'm not getting playing time. But, hey, Shookie's ankle's hurting. We need you to start. And this is at West Point, right? So and my dad's coming to watch the game, right? So this is looming large in my psyche. So I'm like, whoa. and he's like, okay, your job is to hit this guy, number whatever, is the leading scorer at West Point. Your job is to make sure he does not score. Don't do anything else but mark him. And I know how to mark a person like that, and so I did. And there's one, fortunate for me, there was one shot that probably should have scored, but he kicked it over the top. But we ended up winning 2-0. And that was just that was okay. Ted's done with his college career. I'm done. What else can I do? But no, and then I played a couple more games, and then Shooky came back, and we ended up actually winning the ECAC tournament. I think I played maybe 5 minutes of the whole tournament, but still was a quality squad that we played. Uh, Next year, my junior year, I played every game the whole time as stopper because Paul Shook had been a senior, but we weren't near as good, and we probably had a slightly losing record. But still, those experiences and being able to play gave me the experience to where the next year I could be on the field with these folks.
So that game at West Point, what did Dad say to you after the game?
Oh, yeah, congratulations! It was, he wasn't. We aren't that emotional kind of folks, and he has mixed loyalties because he's got his son on the one side and he's got his alma mater. Because if there's a school that is all about your pride and your alma mater and go Army team and all that, it's West Point. So anytime West Point loses is a bad day. So, but on the other hand, your son's playing on the team that beat him. So that's got to count for something. So he was good about it, and it was a night game under the lights. So it was just and we didn't play much night games, so it was a whole different experience and almost surreal.
I love night games. I do. I probably have a handful. No, that's probably not true. I probably have at least 10 different night games if I count rec soccer, adult soccer, and some high school. There's something special about night games, but tell me what you think about it.
Oh, I agree. It's definitely your body clock's different. You got lights you got to deal with as opposed to the sun is just one spot in the sky. Now you got lights lining the field that are part of it, and that whole ambiance. I agree, very special.
I think of stillness, and even if you have people watching, there's a different kind of stillness to the night being just completely black. And
interesting stillness.
Yeah, or maybe those were some of my games. We didn't have a lot of fans, but I don't know. I don't know how else to describe it other than I'm on the pitch and I look around and it's just dark. And yes, there's the lights. I mean, you can see the game, you can see the field. You can see the touch lines and everything. No issues there. There's a sense of calm.
I guess it sounds like some kind of like you're in a little bubble, right? Because you don't have the visuals of the buildings on the horizon, the mountains on the horizon, the clouds. It's just dark. So there's only the game.
This concludes part 1 of our interview with Tedd Ogren. Tune into part 2, where we talk about Tedd's experience with the Samsung Factory, Pentagon Soccer Club, and more.